Dave Rubin, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, buddy?
What's up, brother?
Dude, I haven't seen you. Well, the last time we saw each other was just now, but before that was right before the election.
The day before the world changed.
Squirrely times.
Forever. The government doesn't do anything good.
Right.
Name one problem you could possibly have in your life, Joe Rogan, that you'd be like, get the government to solve this. Do they do the post office well? No. What do they do well?
They do the post office pretty good, actually.
But guess what? If the post office closed tomorrow, it would be all right. You'd still get mail. Amazon
suck.
would pick. No, it wouldn't. Amazon would pick that up.
You would have to send things through UPS. It would cost a lot more.
It wouldn't, though. Competition would start kicking in, and between UPS and FedEx and Amazon and drones and blah, 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 and DHL, what problem would you... Everything you're building here right now, right? Do you want the government to tell you how to do all these things and all the regulations that you got to have your electric thing this far from this and like all
the regulations like that for construction are important, though. You do have to make sure that people don't do stupid shit.
But
make sure
generally,
you don't have a power line that's near a water line. There's a lot of...
But I would put most of that on the builders, though. They want to build things that are good. Now, I get it.
That's not true. Listen, people
people are going to build
corners all the time. Like, you have to have regulations when it comes to construction methods, or people are going to get fucked.
They cut corners when there are regulations anyway.
They do. They would cut a lot more if there weren't regulations.
I'm not totally...
You go to third world countries and look at construction methods, they're fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
That's why schools collapse on kids in foreign countries sometimes. Like, listen, man, I was in construction my whole life. My dad was an architect.
Yeah.
I've been in construction since I was a little kid. You fucking need regulations. These guys, a lot of people that are in construction, they'll do whatever the fuck they can to make money, and it's not good for the people that have the house, because they might have that house for 5-10 years before that problem manifests itself. The people who are establishing these codes are licensed builders or people that have been involved in construction for a long fucking time, and they know what's safe and what's not safe. That's why those codes exist. It exists to protect the consumers. You can't just protect the consumers through the marketplace.
If at the same time you were running a nuclear power plant and you were Mr. Burns and you were dumping in the river, well, no, that's actually no longer rational self-interest, because now you're polluting the very environment that you live in. So rational,
So
I mean, the key...
who takes care of that? Who regulates that?
So
is that where the government comes in?
So those guys, I don't want to speak for.
Well, who gets you in trouble if you, in your opinion, if you're this deregulation guy?
Yeah.
Who goes after you when you dump shit into the river?
So I'm not saying there should be no regulation. I just was saying that I like this. Generally, I like this line of thinking. There has to be some regulation. I agree. You can't. But what I would say is,
that's where the regulation comes in.
Let's put it this way:
the environment.
Yeah, that I would say there has to be some. But I've had some interesting people on, conservatives who are doing environmental stuff from a conservative perspective, that there's ways to make money actually in green stuff, by the way. So Candace, who I watched the show, and I know you guys definitely have disagreements on stuff, as do I do, when it comes not only to politics but tactics sometimes and stuff, but I really do like her. Look, she's causing a massive rift in the black community, and you can see it in the numbers. Black male support for Trump doubled. It was at 11%. It's now at 22%. No, well, it's Kanye. Kanye was the wrecking machine, but right. I think in the grand scheme of things, Candace is much bigger. I really believe that in terms of because I think she could be a direct line to all of the political parts of this if she decides to go that route. Because I think she could run for Senate or
what?
Yeah.
Are you okay? You high?
Yeah,
Did you get high
I'm not
before you
high.
got here?
I'm not high
What
today.
happened?
I'm only smoking maybe once a week on Sundays, and now I'm on
Sundays.
tour, so I'm not really at all. But
maybe I'll spark up a joint and have you reconsider what you just said.
You can smoke a joint, and maybe I'll reconsider.
You said you watched the podcast I did with her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched. I don't know, maybe at least an hour and a half of it or so.
Okay.
Yeah. Why?
Why what?
Well, I don't know. Why are you saying it that way?
I mean, I don't want to name any names, but there's a bunch of people that do it blatantly. You see them, and I've even seen them switch teams. And you see them switch teams, and I don't buy their rationalizations when it comes to ideology. What I think is what they're doing is they're switching teams because they realize there's an in on this team.
Right.
And they can just say, this is the problem with the team I used to be on. Those fucking losers. And they're really Benedict Arnold, right? And like they probably have as much of an affinity to the ideas of one side as they do the other side. They just go all in on one side to get acceptance from the group.
Right.
Yeah, there's no way people change their opinion that much over 2 years or something like that. Or, it's like they just decide this group makes more sense now, and I've been attacked by people on the left, so I'm going to go to the right.
You were on Rogan once or one more?
3 times.
So there was one particular incident where Rogan was asking you about why you believe in less government control.
Yeah.
People felt like you didn't know what you were talking about.
Is there a difference between, say, what Sam Cedar does to Dave Rubin?
Mental incompetent. Do you mean that they're ignorant, or that they're mentally ill or cognitively limited?
Cognitively limited. But with Dave, there's enough moments where he's misstepped, where they just feel like, okay, we got a wounded antelope.
Yeah.
Because and then people like to get sneaky and use, no, I'm a classic liberal.
Yeah, because
what is that? What is that?
Exactly.
You're a fucking Republican. It's very important.
I mean, again, visit any third world country after an earthquake and look at all the crumbled buildings with no rebar and go, do you really want no building inspectors and no regulations on it? Like, is that what you're fighting for? Because it'll all fucking crumble.
Dude, I've had that argument with people, that stupid libertarian argument. I'm like, look, my dad's an architect. My stepfather's an architect. I grew up on construction sites. You have to have inspectors. If you don't have inspectors, man, you're fucked. Like, these guys there's a lot of dirtbags out there making houses. They're bad people. They're cutting corners and stealing money and watering down the cement. Like, the fuck out of here. You can't let the market decide.
Will you go on Joe Rogan's podcast, and will you have libertarian presidential VP candidate on your show before the election? Will I go on Rogan's podcast? I asked him, and our PR people asked him about a bajillion times to go on for my book. We did not get a response as far as I know, so I don't know what happened there. It's a little weird for me to say that publicly. I don't know what happened.
Even if you disagree with the way people feel about so many different things, it doesn't mean you can't be their friend. It doesn't. And I'm telling you, we got it wrong,
that's
man.
so sweet.
Here's what's important. What's important is whoever that person is, they got to be sincere. Now, as soon as you feel like someone's a grifter, you got to cast them out.
Right.
You got to cast them out. Because they got to figure that out on their own, and they got to apologize.
That's cool, man.
Listen, you can be wrong, but you have to be honest. And if you're just bullshitting, then I can't hang out with you.
Dude.
Joe Rogan just announced recently that he's moving to Texas.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about Rogan moving to Texas is Rogan was a Bernie supporter, so I don't know that the Texans really want Rogan there. That's for I suppose that's for them to decide.
Maybe
but
in Austin.
Yeah, but do you really want more Bernie supporters in Texas? That's a disaster. Ted Cruz was like, "Welcome to Texas, Rogan," and it's like, well, if you're going to import those ideas, that's a problem. But
so, if I was the average Texan conservative, I would be pretty worried when, say, Joe Rogan, I like Joe, but when Joe Rogan, who was a Bernie supporter, he's fleeing California to set up shop in Texas, and you're excited because it's kind of cool that Joe Rogan lives there, but it's like, he's gotten the big ideas wrong, and you have to be worried about that. That's not a shot at Joe Rogan personally, but that's just a reality. They say the first step to recovery is admitting there's a problem. This, therapists believe, is crucial because denial ain't just a river in Egypt.